Dan Myers here to tell you about State Farm Insurance agents Eric Means in Shakopee and Andy Hedlund in Rogers. When it comes to hockey talk, Gorgie and I have you covered. And when it comes to ensuring what is most important to you, Eric and Andy are the very best in the business. Both of these guys are hockey guys. Meansy, he played for the Gophers, while Heads, he played college hockey in Mankato for the Mavericks. Hashtag horns up. Meansy is my State Farm agent, and even though I live on the wrong side of the river, he's able to take care of all my home and auto insurance needs. So if you're like me and you live in that state to the east, yikes. Or maybe you live in Minnesota and you have a lake, home, or property in Wisconsin, call Eric Means in Shakopee and have him take care of you as well. 952-446-7067. That's 952-446-7067. Maybe you're a North Metro guy or gal and want to work with Andy Hedlund out of Rogers. That's okay too. Give him a call. 763-QUOTE-IT is the number. 763-786-8348. Or check him out online at thehockeyagent.com. That's State Farm Insurance and agents Eric Means and Andy Hedlund. Two guys that take care of us, and they'll take good care of you as well. Hello again, and welcome to the Sieve and the Scribe podcast, presented by Minnesota Hockey Magazine and State Farm Insurance agents Eric Means in Shakopee and Andy Hedlund in Rogers. Dan Myers here, reporting from Calgary. As we record this, it's an off day for the Wild on February 25th, Friday afternoon. Lovely, sunny Friday here in Calgary. The fellas will be putting a bow on a 4-game Canadian road swing here at the Saddledome against the Flames tomorrow night. Kevin Gorg is manning the ship from back home. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Daniel. Good to see you. Miss being on the road with the guys. Can't wait to get back out there next week. For us at Valley Sports North, we've been broadcasting from the locker room at the Xcel Energy Center, which has been fine. Prefer to be on the road. There were some issues with the Canadian TV crew that a lot of those folks are over at the Olympics in Beijing and just getting back. So rather than travel 15 or 20 people, we all stayed back. And it's not the same, but we're getting through it. And like I said, I'm really looking forward to seeing the team, seeing you, and getting back out there next week.
The Wild will continue with kind of this weird schedule. One more game against Calgary here tomorrow night. And then we'll see the Flames again Tuesday night back in St. Paul. And then it's back to the road. And Kevin Gorg will join us there. Philadelphia and Buffalo on tap for that one. Zach Halverson keeping things on track today from parts unknown. We never know where Zach is. We're going live here today for the first time. So if you have any questions or comments, we'll try to get them as we go along. A fun show planned today. Wild forward Nick Bjugstad will join us and talk about a number of things. The current road trip, just how strange this has been. Coming back off his recent injuries, looked very good on the ice in his couple games back. Maybe a little high school puck as well. Section time heats up here on the boys' side. Who knows what might come up as we chat with Blaine's finest. Gorgie and I also going to go off the beaten path a little bit. A lot of people don't know this, but Kevin and I like to talk, and we like to talk a lot. We actually have rankings, road rankings, favorite cities, hotels, arenas, mess halls. Anything else we're missing here, Kevin? We have rankings. We've literally gone 1 through 31 for everything. We're going to get to a couple of those today, inspired by a Twitter Q&A that I had on one of the long flights earlier. Looking forward to that as well as we wait for Nick Bjugstad to join us. Kevin, some thoughts on the road trip so far that you've seen with the Wild 1 and 2, a victory in Edmonton here in Alberta last weekend, a couple of tight losses out east to Ottawa and Toronto, but certainly competitive games.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of adversity this team is going through right now, and I think that's a good thing, right? I mean, it's a long season. There are still 2 full months of hockey in front of the Minnesota Wild, and so it can't always go just the way you want it to go. I think some guys are banged up right now. We don't have Matt Dumba. Jordan Greenway didn't play last night. I loved the effort last night. I thought it was a winning road game by the Minnesota Wild. I thought the game in Ottawa, outside of the first period, was okay. Probably a game they would have liked to have had back. Last night, again, Austin Matthews makes a big play, scores a couple of goals, and Minnesota, I thought, had some great chances in the third period specifically, and between Mrazek and maybe just a couple bounces that didn't go their way. They don't win the game, but as far as the effort goes, if you continue to play the way they did last night and defend like Minnesota did in Toronto, you're going to win more than your fair share of games here in the next 2 months.
Well, you just got that feeling last night, even early. It took Toronto almost 11 minutes to get even a shot on goal in that game. And both of these teams, Kevin, have been a little loosey-goosey here the last little stretch, Minnesota specifically, getting up more goals, more scoring opportunities than we're used to seeing. Toronto was kind of in that same boat, coming off 3 consecutive losses, giving up lots of goals, lots of odd man rushes. I saw you guys had a graphic on the broadcast last night. You just had a sense right from the start that both those teams were going to do everything they could to try and limit scoring opportunities. And we saw that last night. If you remember back early in the season, these two teams played a really exciting, up-tempo, fun game in St. Paul. Last night was a little boring, kind of, wasn't it?
It was, but if you're the road team and you're playing a team with the talent of Toronto, boring can be a good thing. I think it was a good recipe for success, and maybe a reminder, too. I think you used the term loosey-goosey, Dan, and I agree with that. And I think if this team's going to go anywhere this year, it's going to have to get back to its identity. And, I listened to Bill Guerin on KFan earlier this week, and I loved what he had to say about the identity of this team and who they are. These guys know there's a recipe for success, and they had to get back to it. I mean, they're a much better team when they tighten things up, when they play transition hockey. They'd gotten away from that, I thought, in their game against Edmonton. And again, when you play the Oilers, bad habits can creep into your game, and I thought they did, and I thought it cost them in Ottawa. But last night, I liked the way they played the game. I like this team when they're much more efficient on the defensive side of the puck. They were, and they didn't score, but they had chances. If you go back and look at the grade A's that they had enough chances to win that hockey game. Somewhere between the Edmonton game and the game we saw last night is who this Wild team is. They can score, and they can play fire wagon hockey, but I still think if they're going to make a run in the playoffs, get through St. Louis or Nashville in that first round, shut down Colorado, it's going to be with goaltending and solid team defense. The offense will come, but that has to be the identity of the Minnesota Wild.
You mentioned the goaltending. Wanted to get your thoughts on Kaapo Kähkönen. Another impressive effort for him last night. 8-2-1 over his last 11 starts. And in those 2 regulation losses, Kevin, he's given up a grand total of 3 goals. Well, gave Minnesota a chance again last night, and I think he's looked really, really well. Looked really, really good now for a pretty decent stretch here going back several weeks.
Yeah, he's playing with an awful lot of confidence, and I've had a couple different conversations with Freddie Shabbat, our goaltending coach with the Minnesota Wild, and he's been impressed with the overall game, the landscape of where Kaapo is as a young player in this league. He thinks he's taken a pretty big step this year from what we saw last year. He's more consistent. He's more aggressive, getting out of the crease, getting out on his angle. He's pushing off with speed. I liked what I saw last night. A couple of really big saves at crunch time, had no chance on the game-winning goal. And if you're a goaltender like Kähkönen right now, your role is simple. When your name is called, go out and give your team a chance to win. He did that. The other thing is you got to push the other guy. Cam Talbot's the number 1 goalie in this hockey team. He's the all-star representative. He's got the playoff experience. He is the incumbent to get those big starts down the stretch and into the playoffs. But if you're Kähkönen, you don't just give that net up. It's a friendly competition, and it's great to have that if you're the Minnesota Wild because you play all these games in these next 2 months, a lot of back-to-backs, 4 games in 6 nights, travel like we've seen this week. You're going to need both these guys to play well, and I think Kähkönen playing well will push Cam Talbot to bigger and better things also, and I think that's very, very important.
Nick Bjugstad from the Wild will join us here momentarily. He's in the process of logging into the show here, and I'm eager to ask him, and I'm eager to get your thoughts. And I wish you were on the trip because I'm curious what you think. This schedule is so strange. I know, some of these games we're kind of bridging the part of the schedule right now that were actual games that were scheduled that were not postponed, and making up games that were scheduled way back in December, January that were postponed, which is why Minnesota started this trip here in Alberta and, managed to go east. Now we're back west. And speak of the devil, there he is, Nick Bjugstad. Without further ado, let's welcome him to the show, the former Blaine Bengal, the former Golden Gopher, current Wild forward, Nick Bjugstad on the Sieve The Scribe today. Welcome, Nick.
Thanks, guys. Good seeing you, Gorgie. Good seeing you, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to see you, Nick. And because Sickman took such a direct shot at me on social media last night, I'm wearing the hat. The hair battle didn't go my way during that pregame warmup. I got completely shut down on Twitter. So I see the good hair. You don't need to rub it in. All right, you're playing in the sick man's hands. But no, it's great to see you, Nick, and really looking forward to these next 2 months. We weren't on the road for this trip on the TV side. We're going to be out there the rest of the way and get back to normal here. And I just I miss seeing you guys. I miss being around the rink, and I'm looking forward to when you guys can get home and we can get back to our normal broadcast schedule at Valley Sports North. So how's Calgary treating you today?
It's been good. Just had a little lunch with some of the guys, and the sun is out. So anytime that's happening, I'm trying to get my pale skin a little vitamin D. So, yeah, as far as the hair goes last night, I should have asked you on set how my loaf looked, because I had no idea. I took my helmet off, and I figured it wasn't going to go well. Usually I just throw my helmet on and it's on for the game, obviously do the anthem, but you're not on TV. But I was getting a lot of grief this morning for the hairstyle or lack thereof. So it'll be nice to be doing in-game interviews again with you, Gorgie, where we have the mic and we can wear a hat.
Yeah, not.
It looked like you had like someone with a fan, like blowing hair like off the camera. That's kind of what it looked like.
Supermodel, like Fabio.
Yeah. Hey, those are all colics. I don't know if you want to say supermodel. I got a very colicky melon, so yeah, it's all good. My daughters were even who are 3 and under. I think they were like, "What's going on?" My wife sent me a video. One of them said, "My hair's getting too long, so maybe it's time for a haircut."
Well, let's talk about your club. Everything's kind of gone the way of the Minnesota Wild through the first half of this season, and you've got some good young players on this team, but they haven't been through the rigors of an 82-game schedule. You're a veteran of this league, Nick. You know kind of how the ebbs and flows go, and there's going to be fun times when everything's kind of clicking. There's going to be times when things aren't going your way, where bounces don't necessarily line up the way you want for your club. You're kind of going through that right now. Can this be kind of a silver lining for some of those young guys and maybe a reset button for the club, knowing you still got 2 solid months of hockey in front of you, and you've got to learn how to weather some of these storms?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, there's a lot of hockey to be played. So this season can go either way depending on how you kind of handle these situations of, there's a little adversity going on in our room as far as wins and losses. But I don't think the attitudes change. I think we're equipped with enough leaders who have been through the playoffs, who have been through seasons where they get long. So I think for the younger guys, just to kind of lean on the older guys in those situations. And, I think this group, the culture, there's no panic button really right now. There's obviously a sense of urgency when, you string together a few losses and that especially you think you should have probably won. And, we're playing some good teams too. So you got to look at it from that standpoint and just make sure as a team we're all on the same page and we're not losing our identity, which has been pretty set in stone this season and, well executed. So, yeah, I've been through seasons where I was with the Florida Panthers. We were the second team in history to not make the playoffs with 95 points. We were 1 point short, and that was the most demoralizing thing at the end of the year on that last game when you didn't make it and you worked so hard. So you can't take for granted what goes on a day-to-day basis. And, the cliche, take it day by day. That's how you handle it. And, you do it as a team. You don't do it individually.
That's Nick Bjugstad. This is the Sieve and the Scribe. And Bugey, when you came on, I was kind of setting this up, and I want to get your thoughts on it. This has been this is my 6th season traveling with the team. The strangest road trip I think I've been on so far, just in terms of where it started, where it's ending here in Alberta with a trip to Toronto and Ottawa, of all places, out east. How strange has this been for you? I know in Florida you probably had a few odd road trips back in your day, but how does it affect the guys? I know you're not going to use it as an excuse, but how does it affect guys from a routine standpoint, a travel standpoint, when you're crisscrossing time zones as much as you are and spend as much time on the plane as you are over the last week or so?
Yeah, that's part of the rigors of, traveling. I said this last night, traveling for us really isn't, we're on a nice plane and we get fed well and seating is okay. So if you want to sleep, there's no really excuse from that standpoint. But changing time zones obviously does affect the entire system a little bit and your sleep schedule. So you got to find ways to get your rest, take naps if need be. And I think a lot of it comes down to the mentality, how you're looking at your mindset going into games, going into the days. Sometimes you might not have the energy, but mentally, I think you can push through that. Because obviously, we're not doing this all the time. This is a kind of an odd road trip, but you got to find ways to find that energy and just really buckle down in situations like this. We're going to be home for a while. I think in March. I think we're home basically the whole time. So, naps, coffee. I got my coffee here. Guys do that before games, and you just kind of roll with the punches.
It's nice when they got the full service Starbucks in the basement of the hotel, right?
Yeah, I know you're loving it, Dan. I see you got a big venti over there.
Of course he does. It's another day and it's another venti. Bugie, last year we saw Kirill Kaprizov burst onto the scene, and I loved talking to some of you guys during the season about your genuine excitement for what he brought to your team and the confidence that it gave the Minnesota Wild, knowing they had this star player that we had never had. The fans kind of had that same excitement level. And here comes Matt Boldy this year, a kid that was playing college hockey a calendar year ago and nearly a point a game, and he's got these unbelievable hands. I'd love to hear within the room from veterans like yourself, what your opinion is of his game. Can this guy be a superstar? Because I'm telling you, from watching from afar, I'm getting the same kind of sensation and feeling I had last year watching Kaprizov.
Yeah, definitely agree with you. I've been able to sit on the sidelines, or not been able to, but I've been put on the sidelines for my injury, so I've been able to watch a lot of the games, obviously, from afar and just kind of spectate. And just how he operates, the way he moves on the ice is very elusive and so confident at the same time for a young guy. You don't see that often, and he has that demeanor. He's a humble kid. You can tell he's taking everything in. I think he's really in tune with himself and knows what kind of player he is. And to have that at age 20 or 21, I know the league's getting younger, but I see something different in him from the standpoint where I don't think, he's a point per game right now, but I think he's got even more to give down the road. So to have additions like that come in halfway through the season, he obviously battled that injury and played in the minors for a while, but to have someone step in like that and be an immediate game changer for your team, we're all looking around smiling, happy, because that's another piece to the puzzle that can bring you closer to that Stanley Cup. So the way he handles the puck, the way he's over the top of it, and how he sees the ice is that's hard to find. So you get him, Kaprizov, the Zuccarellos, the Fialas. Those are some skilled forwards, along with many others on our team, obviously. But he's definitely come in and made a splash, and he'll continue to do that, I know.
Bugie, you've been able to come back here on this trip after sustaining just kind of a freak, accidental, nasty injury in practice last month. You've been back on this trip. You looks like you haven't missed a beat. Have you felt that here in these 3 games? You've had a couple of assists. You've been kind of moving up and down the lineup because of various injuries. But how has that transition been coming back into the lineup after missing a few weeks? And do you feel that you've been playing some impactful hockey so far?
Yeah, I think for me, I've had different types of injuries, and having the finger be such a small thing and being able to skate and work on things during those 6 weeks, I just tried to take the positives from it, because when you get injured, you can go one way, you can go south mentally, or you can try to take the positives from it. So I've learned to try to stay positive throughout. There's some days where you just want to be playing hockey, but it's part of the deal. And for me, I almost, when I get back, it's like I feel so grateful that I get to play hockey again, no matter what the injury is. So sometimes it puts that perspective in your head that, we are very lucky to be doing this for a living, and you never know how long it's going to last. So it puts that perspective, and I think that helps energy wise. And that's what I've tried to bring since I've been back in the lineup, just bring in a little speed and little energy in whatever way I can. So, it's the reward is playing in the games. You practice and train all year or all summer, and those games are really, really why you play, obviously. And getting back is it's been awesome, and just hope to continue to keep building on each game.
Fans will always ask me, Nick, what I like about this team behind the scenes, and this year it's been an easy answer. I've been doing this since '06, so 16 years of being around the club and traveling, and this is the closest team I've seen off the ice. And what it reminds me of, what I tell fans, is it reminds me of a group of guys that grew up together and played for their neighborhood or played for their community and had that built-in chemistry. You guys have been able to create that with the Minnesota Wild. What I want to ask you is, going back to your days at Blaine, when you first put that sweater on, played high school hockey in Minnesota, but got to play with your buddies, the guys you grew up with representing Blaine High School and your family, how much fun was it at that point in your life when hockey was more of just a dream, right? College hockey, pro hockey. Right then, it was just all about the Bengals. How much fun was it to have that feeling where you guys got in there and you had so much in common?
Yeah, it's I always say from when I started Squirt, it was like, all right, I watch the Pee Wee team and look up to those guys, and I got to make the Pee Wee team. And you watch the Bantam team, and it's all right, next step. And when I got to varsity, that was like, wow, I'm playing on varsity. This is the coolest thing ever. I'm playing with guys. I was a freshman playing with guys I had watched growing up and kind of idolized. Playing hockey, I always went to the high school games. And so when I threw that jersey on, got to play with guys that I grew up with and kind of looked up to, that was unbelievable. And that's why we Minnesotans a lot of times stay, I think, and stick around instead of going to Ann Arbor or leaving for juniors. I think you get to play with your best buddies, compete with them every day, go to school, live at home, and be able to play some really competitive hockey. So I'm definitely grateful for the environment that I grew up in, and being a Blaine Bengal was awesome. I have so many good memories, and never won a state championship, but we came close. Lost to Nick Leddy and Kyle Rao in the semis. I think that was our year to maybe do it, but nonetheless, the section tournaments at the Coliseum. We were talking about that yesterday. How cool that environment was. I'm not sure that they play there anymore, but just growing up in the Minnesota, and I'm like a geek about Minnesota high school hockey or just Minnesota hockey in general. I just think it's an awesome thing, and I wish more states could experience what we experience. But it's hard to have that culture in any sport. I think, and a lot of people compare it to Texas football, or it's kind of an odd case in Minnesota. You would think in Wisconsin, these other neighboring states, that it would be as big, but for some reason Minnesotans just thrive on their hockey. So I'm excited to see what the state tournament brings, and obviously cheering for the Blaine Bengals here.
Nick's Blaine Bengals in action in 7AA boys hockey tomorrow night. By the way, 7:30 Amsoil Arena. Grand Rapids is Blaine's opponent. They will face off in the section championship against Andover or Forest Lake. We'll see what happens there. We are in the midst of section tournament time right now, Nick. And I know so much attention is paid to the state tournament, rightfully so. It's, for my money, the best high school tournament, any sport, any state in the country. But these section tournaments, I think, get a little overlooked. There's a lot of fun rivalries, a lot of intra-conference matchups that you see that you don't always get to witness once these teams get to downtown St. Paul. What do you remember about some of these section tournaments that, some of these sections are just as good and just as competitive as the big tournament in downtown St. Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I remember some semifinal games where, we lost, where we beat Osteo. We scored with like 10 seconds left to tie it up, and then won in overtime. So with these one game eliminations, A lot of times anything can happen. A goalie can get hot, or what have you. But the section tournament I just remember the amount of nerves going into that because you just wanted to make the state tournament so bad. And, I alluded to playing in the Coliseum and the environment, what that was like, and playing in front of your classmates and knowing, especially in Blaine, the kind of the history before us that had made the state tournament when I came in 3 years in a row before that. So you kind of look at it like, all right, we gotta continue this tradition. You don't want to be the team that doesn't make it. And, I think that those games, obviously your city and the local cities are paying attention to it, but those often get overlooked, and there's some really good ones. And like I said, we had some barn burners and some close calls with Centennial and Maple Grove. And it sounds like the section alignments have changed, obviously. Blaine is playing Grand Rapids. But nonetheless, it's, you're playing these public schools, and, the fans and the whole school gets excited for it.
I probably should have texted you before I asked this question because I don't know if you've got a great memory, and I know you scored a bunch of goals for Blaine. If you had to pick one, though, in your high school career, and I mean, most kids don't get to play 4 years of varsity hockey, so I'm sure, like I said, there are a lot of choices. But if there was one goal that stands out for you in your time as a high school hockey player that you'll never forget, which goal would it be?
Jeez, that's a tough one.
Did you score at the state tournament?
Yeah, we scored. I scored in the state tournament. We got shut. Well, we got shut out my last year there by Apple Valley, Hudson Fashing, and the.
Oh yes, I remember that.
Their goalie, they had this baseball player. I think his last name was Kretz, and he shut us out. Still have nightmares. But yeah, probably I think it was my second year of high school, scoring against Eden Prairie in the semis. I think we were up 2-0 at that point. And then little Kyle Rowell at the time had to, go in clutch mode. He's known to kind of turn it up in those situations, and he scored a couple goals, I think, off our guys' shin pads. Lucky goals, but I do believe you create your own luck, and obviously he won a couple state championships. So we ended up being roommates at Minnesota, and he would throw in jabs every once in a while, but he was pretty humble about it, unless I got lippy. So yeah, I don't know, probably scoring in the state tournament for the first time. That was, that I grew up going to every state tournament basically from when I was a kid. My dad would bring me. I got to watch the 2000 Bengals when my uncle Scott Bjugstad was the head coach. Got to watch them win at the Target Center, win the state championship, and it's just the way I looked at it as a kid. That was like my NHL,
Yep.
Making it to the state tourney. Guys give us crap around the locker room. You Minnesotans are weirdos, whatever. But I think I genuinely think they would, if they experienced what we experienced, it'd be the same feeling and joy of playing for your city and trying to win a state title.
This is the Sieve The Scribe podcast. That is Nick Bjugstad. He is our guest today. And Nick, I talked to you before Hockey Day in preparation for the festivities down in Mankato, and I had no idea of this story until you told me about it. So I want you to tell our listeners, our viewers here, Kevin Gorg has his own Hockey Day Minnesota story coming back from your game up at Baudette Bay. So we'll get to that maybe on a different show sometime. But I had no idea that the Blaine Bengals had their own trouble getting back to the Twin Cities after that frigid day on Baudette Bay. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah. So we actually billeted with the Roseau Rams, the defending state champs. We each had to stay with a player, and I stayed with Adam Nakamoose, who ended up moving on to play Division I. Really good player. But I just remember looking out the window with him and seeing, we opened the door and we're like, oh, I think he was probably like, we're playing. And as a city kid, I'm like, I don't know if we're doing this. But sure enough, we ended up doing it. Big FSN game. It was on Baudette Bay, and freezing. when you're playing, you just don't even really notice it until really when you're sitting on the bench. It wasn't like the outdoor game that we had this year where it was totally heated and we had all the supplies to keep us warm. We were on a high school hockey budget, but we went home, and just to add to the coldness, the bus heat wasn't working. We had to get home. I don't know, what is it, 5 hours maybe up from Blaine to Baudette Bay. And we had no heat on the bus on the way home. So that was about the coldest 12 hours of my life. I remember we were all just kind of bundled up on the bus. Some guys had blankets. So I think the older guys probably took those. And, we still talk about it to this day. We had one guy that I pretty sure, I don't know if it was diagnosed, but it was frostbite. His feet were still hurting a week after. And, but it was all worth it. We still talk about it. And, we got to play the Rosa Rams, Aaron Ness, who was Mr. Hockey that year. I think it actually worked in our favor. We lost 1-0. It's a pretty close game. They had a really good team, and it worked in our favor that it was just tough circumstance. So, fun one, and something I'll never forget.
And after playing for Blaine, you go on to represent your hometown and your home college, wearing the maroon and gold for the Minnesota Gophers. I just asked you about Matt Boldy a little earlier on the show and making that transition from college hockey, but how much impact did your college experience at the University of Minnesota have on who you are now as a veteran of the National Hockey League? You've established yourself as a great pro, high-end draft pick. I'm just curious, looking back, as you made that decision to go to the U of M, how much impact that college time had playing for the Gophers, now making you the pro that you are today?
Yeah, it was, it's an important step for a lot of NHLers. I think college hockey is just getting better and better over the years. And, you got teams like Mankato, #1 team in the country, Dan.
Brother.
Here we go.
It's getting so much deeper. But my point being, I think it used to be, all the Americans played college hockey, and you're seeing kids from Europe and Canada coming in. But yeah, it was good for me. I came in, I accelerated my studies my junior year. So I did my junior and senior year together. And then I came in as an 18-year-old at the U. And I was a lost puppy as far as having skills of just daily life. My mom took very good care of me. And, she did my laundry, everything. I didn't know what I was doing. And it was a good time for me to just grow up and kind of live on my own. Even though I was only 20 minutes away from home, I'd still go home and do laundries on Sundays with my mom. But I think it was just a big stepping stone for me, confidence-wise, and developing strength. Cal Dietz, he put a lot of weight on me when I was 19, 20 years old. So it was a good stepping stone, physically, emotionally, mentally. You got to go to school, you got to get stuff done. And, that's, you can't play if you're not doing your schoolwork. So they do a really good job of that at the University of Minnesota, and emphasizing how important studies are. And I was able to graduate in 3 years, so thankful for that, and then move on to Florida. So, like I said, the high school Blaine team was kind of my idols, and the University of Minnesota Gophers, those were I couldn't even comprehend when I was a kid that maybe I could play there until I had my visit with Don Lucia. And I just remember leaving the visit with my dad, and I think he was more dumbfounded than me that he offered. And, just a really cool moment. And, it's I didn't even go. I was going to do some other visits, Wisconsin and North Dakota, and then I called Don 2 days later, and I was like, I'm not even going to waste my time. I'm coming. So I was kind of bred as a Gopher. My uncle obviously played there, and there was no really other choice for me.
A couple more with Nick Bjugstad, our guest. You mentioned you accelerated your studies in high school to get your junior and senior year done. You go to the University of Minnesota at 18 years old. One of the rare guys, especially nowadays, that went straight from high school to college, no junior hockey experience for you. Just what was that transition like on the ice? You talked about having to grow up off the ice and kind of become a man in a real hurry. But what was that transition like for you on the ice as an 18-year-old going against guys, at some schools like, Minnesota State, where, they have an older recruiting profile. You're 18, you're going against, men that are 23, 24 years old in some cases. That's a big adjustment.
Yeah. I was a string bean. I've obviously only played against high school kids, but I think it was the first half for me mentally on the ice. It was just kind of getting that confidence to know that I could play at that level. And actually had mono I had played a couple games and then got mono. So I was out, I think like 4 weeks early on. So then it even took me a little longer to get back into it to really gain that confidence. So that first half was just kind of like, geez, should I have accelerated? You start to question and not doubt yourself, but you just, I hadn't had any scenarios where I was like, all right, I belong here. And then I was able to make the World Junior team. And that gave me a lot of confidence to build off. And the second half was a lot better for myself individually. And then it all just started kind of coming together. But I just had to stick with it. There's no quit really. It was just, I had to keep working and understand that it was probably going to be a process. I think Don, even in my visits, had kind of stressed that, you come in as an 18-year-old and the game's a lot different, especially if you've only played high school hockey. And so that adaptation was good for me, and taking that step and having a little adversity as far as confidence wise. And I think those are huge points in your career that you look back on, and you kind of needed those to progress into the player that you wanted to become. So I think it's pretty common as far as true freshmen, and we all have our different paths. Some guys don't turn it on until their senior year. I look at a guy like Travis Boyd. He's having an awesome year. He had come in a couple of years and struggled a bit, and then his last couple of years he tore it up at Minnesota. So everyone has different paths, is what I'm trying to say. And you never know when you're at that point of the turning point of your confidence, and that next step is going to come. So you just got to stick with it as a player, no matter where you're at, juniors, college level, or pro. It's a big mental game, and the ones that make it through are the ones that have that grit and just kind of attitude that you're gonna give it everything you got and see how it works out.
I've got one more, Danny, for Nick, and then we'll let him get on with his day. But so many great rivals in college hockey, and I know when you wear the maroon and gold, there's a lot of teams that are gunning for you. But for you, when you're in that locker room and you looked at the schedule at the start of the year and you got ready for one particular weekend, what was the game that got your juices going more than any other? What was the biggest rivalry for you when you were a Gopher?
Yeah, it was North Dakota. Sorry, Dan, I can't. Well, Mankato was fun too. I like going down
That's
there.
all right.
North Dakota was the rival. It's just the craziest game to play in. I was with Justin Hall the other night in Toronto, and we were actually talking about those series and those battles that we got in with them. Just so much fun, so much passion within the schools and the fans. I remember we went up to North Dakota, and I think we swept them, and they were throwing dead gophers on the ice.
Jeez.
And
Oh,
I think my grandma was there, and she just couldn't believe it. But yeah, it was a crazy series when you got into it with them, because we're kind of the city boys, known to be the kind of prima donnas. I'll speak in Dan's terms probably.
Cake eaters, preppies.
Yeah, cake eaters. There you go. But those are the memories that I'll never forget. Those games, just how intense and how heavy and how bad everyone wanted it, just for the pride of the school, and it was just so much fun.
My last one for you, and you mentioned Wisconsin and North Dakota, and I know you made clear Minnesota State was probably not in your mix at that point in time, but take the Gophers off the table. Say the Gophers never come calling. Where do you think you would have ended up? What would have been the road you didn't travel, if you had to guess?
That's a tough one there, Dan.
I'm sure you had probably your pick of the litter there, didn't you?
I mean, so that was my first visit. So I was like, Minnesota was my first visit, and then it was gonna be North Dakota and Wisconsin, and I was like, that was all I was even thinking about. And then 2 days later, like I didn't even expect to get an offer when I had met with Minnesota. So it was like I said, it was like such a surprise to me and my family. But if I had to pick, well, I would say to kids, if you are getting looks early, it's not a race to who can commit first. And I do think do your due diligence on the schools. What's the best fit for you coaching wise? So I probably would have gone on some visits if I had a kid that was in the same position as me. But I would hate to say I'd go to North Dakota because I dislike them so much.
Right, that'd be tough.
But it's a great school. They develop. They obviously have great teams every year. But I don't know. Now you got UMD. I look at UMD and Riley Tufte is like my little brother. I remember when he was trying to make his decision.
Keep going. Keep listening to schools here.
Yeah,
now we're getting there. St. Thomas is D1 now. There's a lot of good options.
Yeah, I don't know. But you know what? Maybe Wisconsin, they got a cool campus, and I think they got a good education there. For that reason, I'd go to Wisconsin.
Fair enough. That's all right. You know what? You have daughters on the way, and John Harrington, Dowdy Mankato is developing that MSU program, so I have some time to work on you. Get the girls to visit down there in southern Minnesota. Nick Bjugstad, kind enough to spend some time with us on an off day here in Calgary. Thank you so much for your time, and good luck the rest of the way.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Good chat, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Bugie.
Talk soon. Thanks, Bugie. Nick Bjugstad, one of the great guys, Kevin, on this Wild team, a locker room full of characters, and nice enough to join us here on an off day for him.
Yeah, I just love the guy. I was lucky enough to cover him in high school. We used to do those FSN spotlight games during the week, and we did Blaine a couple times. We talked about the hockey day game in Baudette, and I was still doing Gopher hockey when he played for Lucia, and so I was between the benches for a lot of those games he's talking about. North Dakota, Minnesota, as good as it gets. He's right, and just watching him become the pro that he has become, and you see his versatility still a decade into his pro career, Danny, the way he can slide up and down that lineup and make an impact. And, part of the Eck and Foligno line last night, the fourth line was brilliant in his first 2 games back. I'm a huge fan of Nick Bjugstad. He's a team guy first. I love listening to guys like Dean Evison talk about him and Bill Guerin, how much respect they have for the way he approaches the game and what he brings to this team with his character. I'm a big fan. So great to have him on and fun to hear his thoughts.
We got more on the way here on the Sieve and the Scribe podcast, presented by Minnesota Hockey Magazine and State Farm Insurance agents Eric Means and Andy Hedlund. After a moment and a word from our sponsors.
Sports fans, come on down to Tom Reed's Hockey City Pub for one of the best dining experiences around. Great food, an awesome staff, and amazing atmosphere is waiting for you just minutes from XL Energy Center on West 7th in St. Paul. Whether you're watching a game, attending a concert, or just out for a good time, Tom's is the place to be. Enjoy twofers during all live Minnesota Wild games, Viking games, and Packer games. Now serving breakfast on Sundays until 2 p.m. While dining, check out the collection of over 400 pieces of hockey memorabilia. Having a get-together? Let them cater your event. They have room for you in their newly remodeled back bar with extra parking in their brand-new parking lot. It's Tom Reed's Hockey City Pub. Give them a call, 651-292-9916. That's 651-292-9916 to schedule your next event. And check them out on the web at tomreeds.com. And if you see Tom, don't mention Ken Dryden.
The Functional Neurology Center is a Minnetonka-based clinic staffed by a caring and progressive team of chiropractic neurologists who are experienced in treating post-concussion syndrome, chronic pain, dizziness, whiplash, migraine, and performance enhancement. They are the concussion doctors that you can trust for your comprehensive brain health in Minnesota and who have helped many local professional hockey players that include Mark Parrish, Brock Nelson, Zach Parisi, and Tyler Nanny. The FNC combines innovative technological therapies with manual therapy to improve human function.
My name is Mark Parrish, and I played hockey for 15 years and professionally, and I had some concussions, some head issues. We heard about Dr. Schmo, and we're certainly glad I did, because the difference from not just session to session during the day, but from day to day has been drastic. And just with suffering from sleep depravity for years, the last 3-4 nights I've slept like a baby and slept again like I did before I had kids, for crying out loud.
You can find them online at thefnc.com.
Welcome back to the Sieve and the Scribe. And real quick, Kevin, I know we talked some high school hockey there with Nick Bjugstad. Wanted to provide a bit of a shout out to some of the state's top boys high school hockey players today. The Mr. Hockey Top 10 was announced this morning. Nick Bjugstad, of course, a former Mr. Hockey winner. Alex Bump from Prior Lake, Joey Del Greco from Grand Rapids, Drew Fisher from Cretin-Durham Hall, Damon Gardner from Warroad, Dylan Godbout and Leo Gruba from Zach Halverson's favorite team, Hill Murray. Got Barrett Hall from Gentry Academy, Gavin Lindbergh, a Moorhead Spud, Tristan Sarsland from Benilde, and Max Strand from Roseau. That is your Mr. Hockey Top 10. And Kevin, of course, we cannot forget about the goalies, right? The Frank Brimisic Award announced its final three. Marco Belak from Cretin-Durham Hall, Austin Bronze from Andover, which, by the way, is just a goaltending factory, both boys and girls. Ben Dardis from Matamita, the third finalist there. Winners of the Mr. Hockey Award and the Frank Brimisic Award will be announced at the State High School Hockey Tournaments banquet Sunday, March 13th, the day after the Boys State Hockey Championship. Tickets to the banquet are on sale now, and for more information, check out MinnesotaMinutemen.com. And we also cannot forget the ladies playing in the state tournament this weekend, downtown St. Paul. Class A, Warroad and South St. Paul, two longtime powers on the girls' hockey side of things. They are playing one semifinal as we record this right now. That game actually may be going on right now. The winner of that game will play Proctor Hermantown, the Mirage, already a winner on the other side this morning, defeating Orono 4-1. So Proctor Hermantown, Warroad, and South St. Paul, one of those three will win a state championship in Class A. Mankato East and River Lakes will play for the Consolation Championship at Tria Rink. No seniors, Kevin, by the way, on that East Cougars team. They're going to be set up for quite a run next couple of years down on the east side of Mankato, a program that we saw as part of the Hockey Day festivities down there. Class AA, Edina and Minnetonka on one side of the bracket, Andover and Gentry Academy on the other, Kevin, all season long. This has been trending towards another Edina-Andover state championship game, two teams that have won each of the past 5 state championships, often against each other. And it's a rematch from Hockey Day, Minnesota in Mankato, where Andover won 4-0. If those two meet in the championship game, it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, it's fun to see these two programs excel at such a high level. I wouldn't sleep on Minnetonka. They put a licking on my alma mater yesterday. Burnsville was no match. Great for the Burnsville ladies to get there. Congratulations to them. They ran into a buzzsaw with the Skippers winning that one 9-0. And Minnetonka, like Edina, has got a lot of banners. I was over watching my nephew's junior gold game a couple weeks ago. Those ladies have banners all over that building. So they're going to be a tough out for Edina. It is setting up, though, for another rematch. We saw it on Hockey Day. It looked like Andover watching that game really adapted to the outdoor game a little better. I think it was a 4-0 final. If they meet in the championship, I'll guarantee you it'll be a much closer game. Edina is an unbelievable program. They've got the great coaching staff. They've got a team that's built to win championships year in and year out. So, it's fun. This is the best time of year in Minnesota to be a hockey fan because you've got the girls tournament, boys section play, college hockey coming down to the conference title time of year and playoffs, and you're starting to look at pairwise and NCAA. And then, of course, now you're starting to dream about the NHL playoffs and who your favorite team will match up with. And then down the road into the Stanley Cup playoffs we go. So if you're a hockey fan right now, you're getting paid.
Burnsville, your club, and Maple Grove will play in the consolation final in AA. that
Nice.
to be a ring. More wild chatter. We're going to take one more quick break, put a bow on the program, maybe have a little fun after a final word from our sponsor.
The Sieve and the Scribe want to thank one of our founding sponsors, Tim Cortez Studio, for supplying the artwork for our podcast. Cortez is a famed artist and former Gopher goaltender whose work is prominently displayed on the exterior of Duluth's Heritage Sports Center in a series of 20-foot by 34-foot banners representing commitment, dedication, courage, honor, hard work, teamwork, integrity, and sportsmanship. Check out his art at www.timcortez.net. That's TIMCORTES.net, or follow Tim Cortez Studio on Facebook, where you can find commission work for the United States Hockey Hall of Fame and the UMD Bulldogs championship teams. Email timcortezstudios@gmail.com for more information.
Hey, pal, you already know that CrankyApe.com is the coolest auction site on the web for everything that rolls, floats, or has an engine. But did you know we'll also sell your toys for you? Why deal with sketchy characters, tire kickers, and no-shows when you can have the ape do it? It's a heck of a lot easier, and if you're not built like me, a lot safer too. Just go to CrankyApe.com and click on the blue burst. I'll take it from there. CrankyApe.com. Why monkey around anywhere else?
We are back. Kevin, I know we had a little chatter. I'm mesmerized by the Cranky Ape, by the way.
I like
think
that
it's
cranky
very,
ape. I
very
want more
muscular.
cranky ape in my life.
We have a text question, by the way, from someone you know, a mutual friend of ours, Michael Russo, is tuning in. Thanks to Mike for watching. Wants to know what's going on with the curtains behind you.
Well, the sun shines real brightly through this window, and so I've got as much as I can trying to get the light from completely shutting down this screen. I don't know. I've got the dog food over this shoulder. I've got, I don't know. I mean,
It's a very interesting setup you got there.
Well, again, I'm doing the best I can. We don't live in the same palatial size homes that Michael Russo lives in. He probably has his own movie theater / studio for this. When you live in a townhouse and the wrong side of the tracks in Minnetonka, this is what you get.
The wrong side of the tracks in Minnetonka.
Not on the lake, I can tell you that. Okay,
not all of us can afford, an interior decorator to come in and do all that, put everything up. Not all of us have Mike Greenlay on speed dial to come fix our appliances.
No,
not all of us can be Michael Russo. That's for sure. All right, Kevin, we chatted a little bit off the top about this road trip so far. Just some quick overarching final thoughts here on this road trip, including the game coming tomorrow night, Calgary, one of the hottest teams in the league. Minnesota definitely going to have its hands full. Coming off a 10-game winning streak, the Flames, into last night, and they get their doors blown off by the Vancouver Canucks. 7-1 in Vancouver. Bruce Boudreau doing some damage, setting the guys up here for what is going to be, Darryl Sutter is not going to be happy with that effort. They're going to be focused and feisty. And it's going to be a Saturday night sizzler at the Saddledome. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think every Wild fan probably cringed when they saw that 7-1 score. Good for Bruce and good for Vancouver, bad for the Minnesota Wild. You're going to get the absolute A game from Calgary. They're a terrific team. That's a tough building to go into and win. It's loud. It's going to be a 9:00 game here in the cornfields, 8:00 start there. It's going to be a tough atmosphere, and it's going to be a big test. End of a road trip. These are always tough spots, but I liked what I saw in Toronto. If Minnesota can build off what they had for a foundation to that game plan, I think it will serve them well in Calgary. Start with good defense, get some solid goaltending, play a tight game. Minnesota's going to be able to create chances. They now have star power. Matt Boldy, when he's on the ice, something good's going to happen. Kirill Kaprizov, who I thought maybe for the first time all year had an off game last night. He's been so good. The bar's been set so high. I thought he was off his game last night in Toronto. He's going to bounce back. So if you play good defense and you get back to what really the identity of this team is, and that's making it really difficult for the opposition to get time in your zone and to create by being in good position without the puck, they'll be fine. It's a 2-game series. I think if there was a betting favorite in these next 2 games, it would be a split. I think the team that wins tomorrow night, likely the other team will get the win when they come back to St. Paul. I just think that's the way it's going to go with 2 very good teams. But for Minnesota, they can't think like that. They got to just think about right now, try to salvage this trip. And 2-2, if you would have told me before they left town, I would have taken it. that's the goal right now because you're 1-2 and your backs are kind of up against the wall.
That sort of seemed like the mindset that we got from guys post game last night. So Minnesota in Calgary. I am in Calgary. Unfortunately, you are not in Calgary, but you'll be back on the road next week. And I was inspired this week on the flight from Edmonton to Ottawa, which is not a short flight, by the way. You lose hours doing it. Did kind of a Q&A that I had on Twitter just to kill some time and got asked what some of my favorite places on the road. And I was inspired. I knew I wanted to have this conversation with you, and we can branch out on this conversation in future episodes because, as we said off the top, you and I have ranking for everything. I mean, you name it, and you and I have ranked these 1 through 31. We spent, I think, the entire pandemic season before the pandemic hit to get our rankings. So today, the top 5 cities for you, for me, and top 5 arenas. So I'll start. Let's start with cities. Top 5 cities to visit on the NHL circuit. Number 5 for me, Kevin. I know you're going to disagree because you're an East Coast guy, but I'm going to say Los Angeles, California. Your thoughts?
I don't mind going to LA because the weather's usually nice.
That's why I like it.
Yeah, I like the warm weather. I don't love the downtown area at all. I do enjoy the building where the games are played at Staples, which is not Staples anymore, but
and the breakfast spot.
Breakfast spot's great. Not one of my top 5, but I get it. With the warm weather, I respect that coming from Minnesota.
Number 5 for you. What do you got?
Well, I got to make sure I don't shuffle the deck the wrong way, but I'm going to go Vancouver. I love going to Vancouver. It's by far my favorite stop on the Canadian side of our tours. It's beautiful. It's on the water. It's usually on the warm side. There's a lot of great places to go eat, a lot of great places to go see. So I like my time in Vancouver. That'll be my 5th spot.
And that's the perfect segue for me, Kevin, because Vancouver is number 4 on my list. You mentioned how warm it is. It's also my favorite Canadian spot, although I'm a big Toronto fan, where we just love that city. It's crazy, by the way, what the pandemic has done there in terms of kind of clearing the clip factor. You're driving through downtown. That's been, as you know, hopping on that bus going to the arena pregame. That can be a 20 to 30-minute bus ride. You're talking half a mile, folks. It's not a long bus ride from the hotel to the arena. Last night, it was a breeze, hardly any traffic. But Vancouver, outstanding. You mentioned how it's always warm. You remember a couple of years ago, we were there, and it snowed like 2 inches. And it basically shut the whole city down. And you love that trip, and you remember it, I'm sure, because I tried to hit the brakes running on the street corner, and I went rear end over tea kettle right in the middle of the road. And this is full-size Dan, by the way. So, it's trying to stop a freight train. Not too good. Kevin, number 4 for you.
Number 4 for me is going to be Las Vegas. Listen, I'm racetrack trained. I got a little gamble to me. Nobody is surprised to hear this. There's some clip factor. It's a little overcrowded. I don't love big crowds of people, but listen, it's Vegas, baby. There's something going on. There's a great place to eat. There's a show to go see. There's a game to wager on and go get, locked into the sports book. There's the Bellagio buffet where I can eat more raw shrimp than any human on the planet. So yeah, Vegas for me is top 5, and it's my number 4 stop.
Jerry, the ocean called.
Jerk store, Jerry, jerk store.
Number 3, Kevin, I'll let you go first because I'm still, you have Las Vegas that low. It's killing me. I have a little time to recover. Your number 3 city on the road.
This is going to surprise a lot of people, and that's okay because it's all in the beauty of the beholder. I love the Arizona stop. You know this. We don't rent cars when we travel. We're kind of locked into being able to walk where we need to go, and we stay in Glendale right next to the rink. It's always warm. It's always beautiful. You can go see Panther by the pool. Oh, goody for us. But you got a hotel that's right next to a movie theater, that's next to a shopping area, that's next to bars and restaurants that are second to none. I think of the Yard House. I think of the AMC Theater. The rink is right there. I'm a 20-minute Uber to Turf Paradise where the ponies like to play. So, yeah, Arizona, top 5 for me. I love Glendale.
Arizona, very underrated. A city that doesn't get very much love, I think, from the locals that actually live there. But everyone that's in our line of work that travels to that spot absolutely loves the setup, how close the hotel is to all of the amenities that you just mentioned at Topgolf. right there across the street as well. We'll be sad to see the Coyotes depart Glendale and move to the other side of town. Although, Tempe and Scottsdale, Phoenix, it's a lovely area. And when you're from Minnesota, there's really no better place to go during hockey season for a couple days than Arizona. Number 3 in that realm for me, speaking of places that's nice in the winter, Tampa Bay. I love that we're right on the water. We were in a new hotel this year, right next to the rink. So much to do. And you know what? We were lucky enough this year, Kevin, as you remember, to have an off day in Tampa this year, a full off day. Rent a car. You can drive 30 minutes to the ocean, to the Gulf of Mexico. You can drive down the coast. So much to do. So many great restaurants. Ybor City, just a trolley ride away. Beautiful pool, beautiful hotel, great barn, awesome trip.
Yeah, it's my number 2, so it works perfectly. And we didn't text each other, and we've talked about this for years, but we didn't have any idea where we were going today. Ybor City's terrific. My daughter's 35 miles from there where she lives. My oldest lives down just outside of Orlando, so that is some sentimental value. But you said it, the weather, the water, the restaurants. I love seafood. There's some great spots down there. So I really enjoy everything about the Tampa trip. It's one of my very favorite stops, and number 2 on my list.
Number 2 on my list, Dallas, Texas. Underrated city.
Wow.
Again, love the warmth. Just love the overall vibe of the city. I have a great time every time we go there. Some great restaurant options, including some spots right near the hotel. Our place, Moxie's, is fantastic. A walking city. Just a very underrated spot for me. Plenty of history there as well if you care to go indulge in going and checking out any of the JFK stuff, which I know you and I, love to do. Also walkable. So, number 1, your favorite city on the road, Kevin. I can't roll my tongue, so I can't do a drum roll. What do you got?
New York City.
I knew you were going here.
Yeah, there's an energy there that just I love, and I've been lucky enough for years to go there on the hockey side and the baseball side. I made a deal with my daughters when they were little kids that the summer before their senior year, we do our daddy-daughter trip out there. All 3 love that. It's a Broadway show. It's Little Italy. It's the Garden. It's the walkable, wherever you want to go, anything you want to see, the history. To me, there is nothing quite like New York City. And every single year when we get our wild schedule, the first thing I do is look at when we're going to be in New York and how many off days we're going to have, because I cherish every minute I have in New York.
The favorite trip you've probably ever had, I'm just guessing, was when we were in New York, 2-3 years ago. And we were there for, I think, 4 or 5 days. It was also at the same time as your birthday. What better time to spend a week basically in the Big Apple, right?
It was awesome. And to bunker down, in one spot and have that time to really enjoy the city. Not, the hockey schedule, you're in and you're out. You're in for a day, you play a game, and then you move on. But when you can piggyback those games with New Jersey or the Islanders and the Rangers and get that week-long stay, which we almost, basically did that time, you get to go see a Broadway show. You go to Little Italy and have a great dinner. There's just nothing like it. And, I really, really love every time we go in there, seeing something new. And when you go to New York, it's like right around the corner. You'll never have the same trip twice. That's for sure.
Anytime you can go into a city and unpack for more than about 24 hours is a good city for me. My number 1, not going to be any surprise here. You know what I love. Las Vegas, Nevada. Vegas, baby. You say you have a little gamble to you. I have a lot of gamble to me, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I love the blackjack. I love the sports book, checking that thing out, just going sitting in a big recliner and having 15 different games on in front of me right now. One of my favorite vacation spots, and it's my favorite spot when you combine everything. We get to the hotel in Vegas. You don't have to worry about a cab, especially at half a Dan's size. You can walk up the strip, down the strip. The people watching is fantastic. The hockey is terrific. It's kind of a look forward here to our next category, top 5 arenas. I'm guessing you can go, where I'm going at my number 1 there. Las Vegas for me, though, number 1, far and away, not even close. Now, top 5 arenas. And people say, well, this is kind of the same thing. Oh, it's not.
Different.
As you can see, because there is a contender in my top 5 that I know is in your bottom 5. It is my number 5 favorite arena to watch a hockey game. Now, this has nothing to do with the city, nothing to do with the hotel or anything to watch an NHL rink. My number 5, Canada Life Center, formerly known as Bell MTS Place. I love the barn in Winnipeg. You know I love the barn in Winnipeg.
On.
I love the fact that it's 15,000 people. It's loud. It's noisy. It's a short flight
noise,
home.
man. Come on.
I can't wait to get out. But I love the arena. And if you are a Wild fan and you're looking for a fun road trip to go to, take that 7-hour drive north, go to Canada Life Center in Winnipeg, Manitoba. We got 2 trips there a week apart earlier this year. It's very sad. I wish we were going back. Number 5 for me, Kevin. I knew that was going to be controversial.
God, it's just terrible. It's not even a good rink. I mean, it's not
even
a great nice rink. It's
a beautiful rink.
It's not. There's nothing beautiful about Winnipeg, including their rink. No, I can't do it. I'm not gonna play along. It's do not waste the time driving 7 hours to Winnipeg.
See it.
Go see the largest ball of twine out in Bumble F USA. You don't want to go to. Just don't do it. I mean, come on. You got me all off kilter here. My number 5 rink is Amalie Arena. It's in Tampa. It's outstanding. They have a lightning machine. So like when the Lightning team comes on the ice, there is real lightning going in the building above my head, like in the tunnel. It's unbelievable. It's always packed. You're going to see a great game. They have the best scoreboard in the National Hockey League. It's clean. You got great food options there. It's everything Winnipeg is not. It's pristine and it's loud and it's real noise, not that fake stuff up there in Winnipeg.
Fair enough. To each his own. We'll get to Amalie Arena. It's on my list as well. Kevin, your number 4 arena.
Well, you've got to,
I have you flustered now.
You do. And I'm trying to make sure I get to my number 1. I've got my 2 U.S. cities kind of lined up at number 2 and number 1. I'm going to give Vegas a nod. And I know you love it out there, and I respect it. Vegas is a really cool place. Now, this is a trip, honestly, if a Wild fan pulls me aside and says, where do I need to go? This is definitely on my list. You won't find a better atmosphere before the game even starts. Vegas knows how to set things up for any type of show, and the music is pumping. The scoreboard's cool. The crowd is just off the hook. A lot of Wild fans make it out there. So I'm going to give Vegas the nod. T-Mobile Arena is a bucket list must for any real Minnesota hockey fan.
My number 4 arena, a place the Wild was just at last night, Scotiabank Arena will always be the Air Canada Center to me. There's just something about this arena. And it's the same thing for me when you walk into Madison Square Garden, which I know is coming up on both of our lists, so I won't get into it. But there's a vibe in the building when you walk into this place, and you just get the sense, that the eyes of the hockey universe are watching you tonight when you are inside that arena. There's just a buzz. It's like going to Lambeau Field. If you're a football fan, there's just going to be a buzz. There's an atmosphere. It was unfortunate last night. It was the final game at Scotiabank Arena with a half-full barn. So happy that the hockey fans in Toronto are going to be able to come back full bore in a week or two. The next time they play a home game, they're going to have a full house there. Just a sweet barn, walking distance from the hotel, right in the middle of downtown Toronto. Maple Leafs always have a great team. There's a great buzz in the building. Scotiabank Arena is number 4 for me. Now, I'll go with my number 3. I'll keep it going because you already hit on it. Amalie Arena in Tampa. The Lightning machine is fantastic. The pregame meal, second to none. Although this year took a step back, but we're pausing the food rankings till we get all the way through COVID times. Amalie Arena right on the waterfront in Tampa Bay. And our guy, Jamie Spencer, used to work for the Wild, now with the Chicago Blackhawks. One of the cool, underrated parts of that barn, Kevin, that giant organ that they ripped out an entire section of the seats in the upper level on one end. I think, I want to say Jamie Spencer told me they took it, or they bought it from an old church. I mean, this thing is literally a giant old school organ. They spent $1 million, ripped out an entire section of seats, and invested just making the organ a part of their vibe in that arena. Awesome for me. Amalie Arena, number 3.
Great pick. Yeah, really good pick. And for my 3, I easily could have gone to Toronto like you did. They are just on the outside looking in for me, but I totally get the vibe you're talking about. For me, I get that same vibe with my number 3 pick, and that's in Montreal at the Bell Center. The history there is second to none. I think back to when I first started traveling with the Minnesota Wild, when Jacques Lemaire was the coach, and being able to walk around and see some of the team pictures when Jacques and Mario Tremblay and those guys were on those great Canadian teams. There is something special about a game in Montreal, and where I watched the game in the Zamboni Tunnel, the rink just looks a little different. It's a really, really cool place to watch a game. The fans are pure hockey fans. They will tell you exactly what they think of everything, from their home team to the visitors to the officiating. They are just pure hockey fans, and I think it's a must for any real hockey fan. If you want to go to like Yankee Stadium for baseball, this is it in hockey. You got to go to Montreal and see a Canadiens game. It is spectacular.
The vibe in there very much like, in terms of how the hockey fans view the game, very much like maybe the closest thing we have to our home barn in St. Paul. Number 2, Kevin, for me, Madison Square Garden. I know this is going to be probably your number 1, but Madison Square Garden for me, just like Scotiabank Arena, you walk in and you can feel decades of history. And I know that the barn in Toronto isn't that old, but just the history behind hockey in Toronto. Madison Square Garden is that old. I mean, this is one of the oldest barns, or maybe the oldest barn in the league, but you wouldn't know it because in the last 10 years, they completely basically gutted the building. And it's a brand new barn inside. Press box view, second to none. It's one of the few, kind of catwalk type press boxes in a U.S. city. They're standard here in Canada. Just a fantastic place to watch a game. My love for this place only went up a couple of weeks ago when we were there and we got to be a part of a number retirement ceremony. Nobody does it better than Broadway, New York Rangers. Great team, fun team to watch. Place is full, place is yelling, they're swearing, you can hear everything. It's so much fun. MSG Madison Square Garden, my number 2.
My number 2 spot is the United Center in Chicago. And I know right now the Hawks are down a little bit, but over the years, hopefully Wild fans have taken the drive over to see a game there. The anthem in Chicago is maybe the greatest in all of sport. When that building cheers like they did back at Chicago Stadium, and that theatrical performance, and they point to the flag and that energy, the hair on your neck stands up. That is, that to me.
It does. He's got the giant Stanley Cup ring. It's awesome.
He's so good. And the building's an awesome building to watch a game in. It is built for hockey. I know an NBA team plays there, but that is a really cool place to watch. The horn, I mean, it's iconic, man. I just, when I go to Chicago,
when the Hawks are good, there isn't a louder building in the league.
There isn't. So I have to give my tip of the hat for my number 2 spot. You got to go to United Center.
And we know you're number 1. Go ahead, give us your ode to Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, again, my favorite city and my favorite rink are tied together. And I love Madison Square Garden. I love the old school walk up the ramp when you get there. The rink is on the 5th floor. The history. I've seen Billy Joel there on a Wild road trip. I've seen dozens of Wild games. It's lit different. It feels different. Like everything else in New York, it feels like it's extraordinary because it is. And we were so lucky to be there this year for the official jersey to the rafters for Henrik Lundqvist. You nailed it. They know how to do big games in New York. Games always feel just a little bit bigger when you play on Madison Square Garden's big stage. I can't wait to hear your number 1. I think I know where you're going.
Like your number 1 city and arena are tied together, so are mine. T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas has not taken long to climb to the top of my rankings. My favorite place to watch a hockey game in the entire NHL. And if you are a Wild fan looking for a road trip like you, this is what I tell people. They have to go to Vegas just because it's so unlike anything we experience in St. Paul. And since I am a Minnesota native, I get to say, you know what? Sometimes we can be a little bit snobby when it comes to how we watch hockey because it's a part of our lifestyle. The thing that they do in Vegas, you can't do in Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota fans would accept it the same way, but it's fun to see a different market, a non-traditional market, embrace that team the way they have. It's loud. It's fun. The pregame production's great. The announcer's great. Everything that goes along with it. The pregame aspect of it is great. And you know what? If you are a Wild fan, you're looking for a road trip, and you want to be on a trip where there's going to be lots of other Wild fans, go to Vegas, because it's a third full with Wild fans every single time Minnesota plays there. You can't go wrong in Vegas. You really can't. I know you're still rattled by the Canada Life Center. You know.
Well, it's just, I mean, we all know better.
Terrible take in your mind?
Well, I don't get it. I don't understand. Outside of the Jumbo Jet Dog, the Jumbo Jet Dog is delicious, and it may be the best cuisine at an arena that you can get as a fan. So I will.
There you go.
I'll tell you that that's great, but the rest of the building to me just isn't very good. I mean, it just doesn't measure up. But again,
I love the small barn aspect of it. But this is what's fun about this is once you get beyond our top 5 on each side. Like I know with you and I, when we've debated like 6 through 20. We've gotten into some pretty heated arguments.
Oh yeah.
Over what's better. That's the fun part. Like maybe we should publish these sometime. We can do all kinds of other categories, but always fun to, you know what? We're very privileged and very lucky that we get to do the jobs we do and experience these different cities, experience how all these other teams watch hockey, how they promote hockey, and how fans cheer for their teams.
I mean, you got to pinch yourself, right? I mean, we're on this beautiful, Bugey hit the nail on the head. We're on this unbelievable airplane. We're getting served food. We're in these comfortable chairs. We're with an NHL hockey team, and you're watching from the press box. I'm watching up against the glass. There is no bad building. I mean, we didn't mention Boston, Philly, the Islanders' new rink at Belmont Park. I don't care. We're going to Buffalo. I love going to Buffalo. Seattle's beautiful. There's no bad choices here. We're privileged to get to do what we do. It is just a ranking order that we love to have. We love to argue and banter about it, but there is not a rink where I go to where I don't get butterflies, come 5 o'clock on game night when we walk in the building and start getting our prep done for the game and go to the mess hall and banter. I mean, it's a privilege and an honor to get to do what we get to do. And I love these arguments because there are no bad choices. We're watching our favorite team in some of the coolest buildings in the world in front of 18 to 20,000 fans. It is spectacular. I don't take it for granted.
If you've made it this far into the show, drop one of us a line, drop both of us a line. Let us know what you want to know about on the road. Kevin and I will happily rank everything. Kevin, let's put a wrap on this thing. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us on this live edition of Episode 8 of the Sieve and the Scribe, presented by Minnesota Hockey Magazine and State Farm Insurance, agents Eric Means and Shakopee, and Andy Hedlund and Rogers. Thank you to Nick Bjugstad and, of course, Zach Halverson for keeping us on the rails today. For Kevin Gorg, I'm Dan Myers. We'll chat you next week on Episode 9 of the Sieve and the Scribe.
Dave's Sports Shop in Fridley, Minnesota, the top hockey shop in the North Metro since 1969. Specializing in custom fit hockey gear, top quality skate sharpening. We've got a full lineup: CCM, Bauer, Sherwood, True, Vaughn, and many more. We also offer used and new skates. We'll take those old skates in on trade for your new skates. Dave's Sports Shop, where the winners shop. Come find out why. Mention this ad to get your free skate sharpening.